Thanks to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video.
Just thought nobody would mess with you.
For those that have not noticed, SimpliSafe is a major sponsor of my videos. It's been a couple years since I first installed the security system, and it's still going strong without any trouble. I remember a slight anxiety thinking about installing it myself, but that was quickly alleviated when I realized how easy it was. SimpliSafe makes sensors to cover just about anything that could happen. They protect your doors, windows, rooms, as well as outside your house with their recently released outdoor camera. Most all the sensors attach via a peel and stick strip, taking only seconds to install and are easy to relocate if needed. Keep in mind this system is totally wireless, meaning the sensors can go just about anywhere, and there's no wiring or rewiring of the system with any changes you make. It took me no more than an hour to install the system, and that includes filming the process. It's been a comfort to my wife and I to have a SimpliSafe security system, even simple things like the wind blowing open a door you thought you had shut, or calling the police in case of a break-in. With SimpliSafe, you get 24/7 professional monitoring that is ready to dispatch police, firefighters, or EMTs to your home. At less than $1 a day, no long-term contracts, and 60 risk-free days to try it out, there's nothing to lose. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit SimpliSafe.com/homemadehome to learn more. And here's where we are right now. So those of you who've been following along the whole time aren't going to have seen anything new. And this is the most up-to-date video within days of me posting the video. So let me gain access to the house. Windows have been purchased. Purchased windows for all the openings in the house, and it came up to $4,000 some dollars, just the window cost. So I went around. Let me show you on the outside. This window's easy to show. I went around, numbered the windows, and took measurements, and then told those measurements to a local place that you can buy windows, and ordered them all. So they are just simple vinyl replacement windows, but I did add the grids just for the style house to where it just wouldn't look like the cheapest possible replacement windows that one could buy, and I'm pleased with them. You know, it's simple looking, but from the street, so the curb appeal angle, I think they'll look much better. So yeah, all the insulation has been added, which you saw in not the last video I posted, but the last video on this house. I won't go in the basement right now. Upstairs, I haven't been in this house in a while. I've been kind of taking it easy and just doing some stuff that I want, taking a break. I eventually always finish my projects, so I try not to get too hung up on if I'm finishing them fast as a real estate mogul. Just get them done, and then I get it rented. So the windows turned out nice. I still need to kind of clean it up really good, but I'm very pleased with it. And you get people who whine about it a little bit in the comments, and then you get the other half that love it. But I'm pleased. More windows. So yeah, 4,000 windows. I think it was 15 or 16 windows. I'm not sure exactly how many, but they're all here. And my plan, and this will be the next video, dedicated video to this house, is I'm going to be installing all the windows, which all it is screwing them into the openings. And then I'm going to hire someone to do the aluminum wrapping. So if you look at the outside of pretty much any newer house, you'll notice that you have your windows, and then how the windows connect to the siding that's on the house is it's basically some aluminum that is bent into various molding type shapes, or sometimes it's just a simple break, 90-degree break that goes over and tucks behind the siding, and then it is caulked. So yeah, that's where we're at. Thank you all very much for kind of following along, getting up to this point. Let's go to the questions. Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for this part of the video. I'm going to be answering questions asked in the last video. I'm just going to be following along on my phone and answering them as quick as possible. I may stray on some of them, but I'm really going to try to answer them quick to not have this stretch out. There's 24 questions, and I'm going to finish with another little thing. Number one, Jackie Gannon, how do you get rid of the cat pee smell? You got to wash that off, get rid of any kind of flooring like carpet, linoleum, or anything like that. Get down to basically the subfloor or the wood floor, whatever it is. Wash it off, soak it in some stuff that smells good, let it air out the best you can, and do some sort of finish on it, or cover it up. And there's different store-bought solutions to spray on stuff like that as well. Dennis Down asks, outside interests. So what are my personal outside interests? Well, I like doing a lot of the stuff you see me doing on YouTube. Not that I would renovate houses exclusively if I had all the time and money in the world. I probably just mess around with a lot of the stuff you see in the background in this shot here. I like building stuff, bike riding, canoeing, kayaking, nature-related stuff, outdoor stuff, creative stuff as far as like painting, sculptural stuff, fixing cars. I mean, I just like messing around with a lot of different things. I think it's fun to do a wide variety. Lexi Brooks, how much is your house going to rent for? Probably $700 to $900, but closer to $900. Royalty 46, do you watch YouTube? I sure do, but I do more listening than watching because I can just have the phone in my pocket and then some earphones in, and I listen to stuff while I'm working on things. Looking at things kind of takes a lot of time, but I do not have internet at my house, so it's all done on the phone, which the signal's not too great, so it's just inconvenient enough to not abuse it too much and be able to stay on task working on things when I'm at home. Let's see, Drafty asks, when do you stop renovating? So meaning, like, how far do you go? And the answer, I think, is you have to keep it appropriate to the house you're working on. If you've got a house that's renting for $500, $600, $700 or something like that, you don't go put quarter sawn white oak floors in there if they're not already in there. You know, you put down something vinyl plank, flooring, carpet, that type of thing. So you can't go too far, or if you could, because if you're concerned about, like, you know, recouping your money, if you're kind of working on that level, it's going to take you longer, and it's just not the right thing to do in general. Misty 1020, are you going to show the other house, so the one you see in the background in the $9,000 house, the white house in the background further back? Answer is yes, when I get to it. So that is a 3-bedroom house, going to get a renovation, probably a more interesting renovation than the average rental. ILMK 92089 says, what if you do work without a permit? And he's asking this, I think, more in a sneaky way. And the answer is you just don't want to do that, because you could get caught for a variety of reasons and have to go back and show the work that you've done. Say you renovate a house and sell it down the road, and the house burns down. The fire inspector sees that it burned down because of electrical, and then there wasn't a permit. You know, you're open for all kinds of liability issues in that case. And if you and then somebody would probably think of an LLC in that situation. If you have an LLC set up, but you're being, like, sneaky and avoiding a building permit, you know, I think that makes it look worse. So I'd be careful with that type of thing. Anytime it looks like you are purposefully doing something wrong, I think the repercussions go up. Sally H, would you do it different? What would you do different? In houses like $12,000, $9,000 house, pretty much what you see me do is how I'd go about it. Other than maybe, like, buy a different house, it wouldn't be so much work, I guess, would be a smarter answer. German Daniel, why no solar? It's just something I'm not going to do on a rental house, maybe on a personal project like my own house or some other thing that is hard to get power to. Il Marino 29, why bite the hand that feeds you? And this is referring to YouTube, I think. In my last video, I commented about some things about how YouTube does things. I don't view it as biting the hand that feeds me. And if anything, I guess someone could ask YouTube the same question, why bite the hand that feeds them? Meaning all the people who post videos that are then monetized and they make all that ad revenue. So it's kind of one of those relationships where everybody needs everybody in that situation. And, you know, YouTube's kind of getting popular for doing some funny stuff. And same thing applies to, I guess, a lot of the little social media type websites. And what it does is it just makes you have to be so much more careful when you're talking, but not in a genuine way. It's just some fear thing. It's not like it's not like you're just adopting whatever the person is saying you should care about, you know. So it's in a negative result in the end, in my opinion. Not that I talk about controversial things on this channel, but Evan Hardwick, what to renovate, surface versus a gut job? Surface renovations, cosmetic stuff is great on a house that's not that old and is still perfectly functional, where you're just going in there and, you know, changing just strictly cosmetic things mainly. But on houses like a $9,000 house, you've got to get in there and do more to those houses, so they're going to be a pain in the butt. They're just not going to function. Literally, I mean, the water and the electric was all messed up in that house. So you have to go in. You want your house to be the least amount of ongoing work as possible. Taylor Wilsey. To make sure we're still filming. Taylor Wilsey, top 3 things you look for in a house. The biggest thing is location. Pretty much any other thing that I kind of want to look at oftentimes has something to do with the location. Other than that, the foundation, you know, make sure that's not like going to be a dangerous thing. I'm not too concerned about stuff because I'm not going to sell the house. So you're mainly getting it fixed up. And again, location could just mean the houses around it, proximity to jobs, proximity to stores, what I may think may happen to the value in the future, or proximity to like houses already owned, that type of thing. So where it is the biggest thing for me. Jessie Smith, Lady Gecko, she says, would you do it over again? Yes, ma'am. Jessie Smith, are my renovations financially viable without YouTube? Yes, my YouTube videos slow down the renovations, so I think it's probably all works out about the same as a guy who has a job and also renovates houses. And let's see, Janet Jones, is it cheaper than building a new house? Meaning, is it cheaper to renovate a house than to build a new house? Maybe specifically the house I'm working on. You could definitely turn a house like I'm working on into something that's more expensive than building a new house if you probably paid someone to come do all the work. But even then, you're splitting hairs. I like the idea of fixing houses that already exist instead of building another house and that junky house is still sitting there. I mean, somebody will renovate it, but I like the idea of renovating houses versus buying new ones. And building supplies are very expensive, and you'd be buying a lot of them and having to pay people to do all or more stuff if you build a new one. Janet Jones, no, she already asked her question. Kevin B., where do you see your business going and other income streams? I want it to get to where it's basically sustainable in terms of it makes enough money to where I can pay people to do everything from fixing the places up to any ongoing maintenance in the future, and have property managers take care of all of it. And for that income to be the total income that I have. I don't want to rely on any active pursuit of money if I don't have to outside of that. Other income streams right now, I mean, it's the rentals, YouTube, selling furniture when I do that. And then there's like a couple of little smaller things that are really more related to having the videos out there. Belinda Joy, have you considered being a motivational speaker or starting a channel doing so? I have a channel called Common Sense where I've talked about things, and it's more related to finances, but I think how you live your life has a lot to do with your finances. As far as being a motivational speaker, I do think it is an important thing that exists, but I would rather, I think, do something specific and then maybe talk about how to do that thing, and then if those extra things come into it, sort of basically like how I do it. So I guess my channel could almost be thought of as 50-50 that way. Anytime you see somebody doing something, it's setting an example or inspiring or motivating them to do something. But I mean, in a traditional Tony Robbins type sense, that's probably not something I'd end up doing. If it turned into something like that, of course it'd be fine, it'd be cool. It probably would be, you think of it as easier, but then, I mean, can you imagine how busy a guy like that is? But yeah, I mean, I personally get a lot out of motivational type speakers, and I really did in the past, and I really still like listening to them just to kind of get me out of funks and be able to get me moving forward. So there's a lot of value in it, regardless of what somebody may think of any one person, because it's real easy to kind of look at somebody that's doing motivational speaking and go, well, aren't they up on their high horse? But you can't get hung up on that. A lot of these people are speaking from experiences, people they've talked to in the past. They're presenting you with the best. They're not harping on the worst stuff all the time. You can't get hung up on some guy who's done 99% of everything right and has become extremely successful, and he's got these few little things that he's done that might go against what he said. Most of that stuff is like personal life stuff that you wouldn't know about if the internet wasn't blasting out that kind of stuff all the time to you. Ramos Vin, does your family feel you spend enough time with them? And how do you handle it? I think they would like me to spend more time, but understanding of what I'm doing. And I'm a creative person in general, so a lot of times it can look a little confusing what I'm doing. And I've said this probably before, but I might be off in a corner sitting there with just a dumb look on my face. Sometimes that's me working. And then other times it's like people view me and I'm working, and they might be going, slow down before you have a heart attack. That's me working too. So, sometimes I might just need to go walk away from people and do that type of thing. So it's a little confusing, like watching me do stuff. And I might be piddling with something that has almost nothing to do with what I'm doing to work, but it is, because I have to stay in a certain mindset, and it's just like this, everybody's a little complicated that does their own thing. But yeah, how do I handle it? I don't really know what that means. I just do the best I can. I mean, I'm around a lot. That might not always mean that I'm always totally engaged, but my presence is around. I'm at home all the time pretty much, unless I'm working on a house. Because I do work in spurts. Like I'll work for a week, and then I won't for maybe a couple weeks, and then I'll work for 2 weeks, and then not work for a couple days, and then it's just kind of I'm like it's like a fireman but with no pretty much set schedule. It's just kind of all over the place, but it goes from working to not working. Susanna M. Have you finished the tiny house? Nope, I have not. It is further along than in the last video, but I have not. It will be finished eventually, and it's sort of something that's sort of starting to re-enter my mind anyway. America asks, what tools do you use? I use a lot of battery-operated tools for just the mobility and lack of electricity. It's great. You can work on stuff anywhere. I specifically use Milwaukee. Types of tools, I use pretty much everything. There's nothing they make that I wouldn't want, even though I don't have it. My suggestion is you buy tools when you need them. If it's way too expensive or seems specialized, you can rent them. Louis Anderson, what is your plan after your passive income becomes comfortable? For me, what comfortable means would be you have your amount of money you need. I want to make 2 or 3 times that amount and then all be from passive income at least, long term. At that point, I think I'd be able to kind of lean back and feel good about it. I like to be able to save money for, the what if, kind of reasons. And then also to be able to move forward on further investments or help people get started on things, solve my problems, other people's problems. There's no such thing as having too much money. I think the way you go about it can be a little damaging to yourself. I'm not going to get hung up and talk about some larger cultural thing related to what effects it has on all kinds of other people. That's up to you to handle things right. But I don't want to be somebody who's obsessed with making money. I think you need a lot of money, so it's good to pursue a lot of money, but you have to keep a balance. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're obsessing about making money. I don't know, just have a pile of it right before you die. But I think about things longer term too, is in terms of being able to give my family money. The other thing too is what happens in say 5 years if something happens to me and I die. I want to be able to have enough stuff established and in place to where I can still provide for people even if I was gone. So you can't be selfish in your thinking as far as that type of stuff goes. Hey Hope, do people want to help you? I think I skipped some questions. Do people want to help? Not really. People say they want to help you do stuff on occasion, but it's always somebody that's way off in the distance. Anytime, like the people in your immediate circle who could be at your place in 10 minutes and help you don't get too many offers from them, but that's okay. I'm the one choosing to do this. A lot of people will put themselves in the place of a victim that people aren't volunteering to help them in something that they have specifically chosen to do, and that's silly because there's people out there that you can pay to do something. Do your neighbors ask you questions? On occasion, but it's usually right when I buy a place, you might get asked some questions. And then once, about 3 years working in a house, they pretty much know what's going on. Also, a lot of my houses in the same area, so the same people are seeing me, so it's just kind of, nothing special to them. Do people ask me to be their handyman? It does happen. I just don't take any money for it. I'll help them do something if I can, but I don't take money for it, and that makes them less likely to ask you in the future because not paying you, they feel like, oh gosh, I don't want to ask this guy too much, but as soon as you pay them, it kind of neutralizes any guilty feelings they have, and they feel like you're for hire. And then oftentimes, the person asks you to do it to start with because they don't want to call, say, a plumber and pay that. Or it could just be they're in a pickle, but that plumber is sitting there waiting to charge you weekend, after hours, holiday fees. It's there. I've spent a lot of time working on people's stuff that would have cost him probably $1,000, and I just walk off, afterwards, and I just say, just glad I was able to help you. And that's not tooting my own horn, but I'm making more money or guarding my time by walking away from that potential income than if I took it, because I'm not looking to be a tradesman for other people, and I'm not licensed and stuff like that. So people get that confused, and the same person is trying not to pay a craftsman. What are they going to do when you go and do something in the house and then the house floods out and then there's some major damage? You're going to get blamed for that type of thing, and I don't want to be responsible for it. So I think when you take money for things, it looks like you're professional, versus if something happened, you could be like, I was just there helping you fool with something, being an extra pair of hands. Let's see. Well, this is the last question, I think. I think I missed one, though. Blastovere. Are you looking for partners? No, I'm not. I used to think the idea of having a business partner was attractive, and then I had a business partner for something, and it was no like super hardcore quarrel, but it was just difficult and awkward. And it's just like everything you do you have to consider this other person and talk to them about it. I like the freedom of just being able to zig and zag and do what you want. The other thing too is one time I was listening to Dave Ramsey, and he said that he doesn't partner with anybody because he can pay somebody to do anything that a partner would do. And I think that's wise, because you can just pay somebody to do the work if it needs to be done, and then you're not splitting the money in the end with that person. And it also, you'll avoid any kind of long-term issues that could pop up. So that is all the questions. I know I missed one in there. I just can't think of which one it was. I don't know. So I wrote a little thing sort of just to tack on to this, because a lot of people's general questions are about sort of like, how do you do this or that? But they're really asking, I think in my mind, almost like how to do the specific tasks in a house are easy. How to be the person that is going to want to do it and follow through with doing it, that's the tricky part. And you'll have to forgive me. This was basically just written. I'm just going to read through it. Don't interpret it in any kind of negative way. I'm meaning it specifically related to how I've gone about things. And it's going to kind of jump around. It's basically going to make like a handful of little points. And I wrote, how to succeed. I feel like you have to blend in when dealing with others, but be quietly aggressive. Many people act in a way that makes you overestimate them, but in many cases, they are not very competent. I feel being underestimated or someone others are not even thinking about is best. Think long term and don't get distracted by temporary delights that are not important to you, that being the important part. Don't be selfish and think only of yourself. It's not very motivating long term, and it's easy to let yourself down versus your children, for example. I personally believe following the straight and narrow path is best. When you deviate, you experience resistance. All actions have consequences, so be slow to act and consider if the results are worth it. It's okay to not always get what you want. If I did everything I wanted, I would not have the things that I love the most. So I hope answering those questions was helpful. Of course, feel free to ask as many questions as you want if you have anything. Anytime I'm talking about this type of stuff, like that last little part I read, like some people, I think, will immediately jump to the thing that makes them angry or think that you're commenting on some cultural thing going on when I'm not. A lot of the stuff is, you have to deal with other people. It's like if you get tattoos all over your face, and then one group that you deal with may like those tattoos, but the other group may be intimidated or it just might not be a good fit for them. You can't get mad on all that kind of stuff. It is silly to think that you can do something to get a reaction out of people in one way and then be mad about it when you get a reaction from another way. And I'm not, commenting specifically on face tattoos, but just anything that you may want to do in life. You kind of have to, I know there is no such thing as, it seems like, is normal anymore. And it doesn't mean because you kind of are outside of that normal realm that you can't participate with people in a normal way. Like, you can be very different, but when you're fooling with people within a specific field, you have to blend in. And it's so odd that people don't see that in day-to-day interactions, but they understand it in other ways. If you are working in a funeral home, you can't go in there and say congratulations to people and start patting them on the back and acting like some rock star. It's an inappropriate behavior in that environment. Versus, if you're the rock star, you don't go walk up to somebody looking at the ground and say, I'm sorry, on the microphone and walk off. So you can't think that just in your day-to-day interactions that if you act certain ways, you reap what you sow, basically. And if you think about that things, and what's truly important, do you want people to humor you and say they're okay with the way you are, or do you want to kind of figure out the best way for you to fit into where you feel like you best fit in. And that may mean you don't participate with certain things, or that may mean you alter certain behavior. But I think if you really think about it, like what would you need to alter about yourself to fit in with the group that you most want to fit in with? And then try not to be so concerned what other people think about you at the same time. Sorry if that kind of pulled things off of topic right there at the end, but that's just what happens when I talk. I appreciate you all watching. Thank you to SimpliSafe for sponsoring this video. And again, feel free to ask any questions. See you next time.